Whoops. My name is Professor Adam, and I'm going to teach you how to become a professional cryptocurrency investor. I've been active in finance for almost 9 years, and I've made millions of dollars without the need for luck. I'm going to teach you everything that I have learned throughout my years of finance, all of the study, the research, the pain and suffering, so you too can learn from my experience and become elite. So what is cryptocurrency investing? It's buying digital assets and then getting paid massive amounts of money at a later date when you sell them because they have multiplied in value. You'll be taught multiple methods for how to do this, leveraging my years of deep research and world-class systems. When people invest by themselves with no mentorship, they usually get scammed quickly or lose all of their money because the market moves are too fast or confusing. But with my systematic investing, you develop high-quality criteria that tells you clearly what to do to make profit over the long run with far less risk. Most fake trading salesmen online seduce you with flashy Instagrams, and they teach the same ineffective shit between different accounts. This university and this campus specifically is different because I am an effective professional and I will guide you every step of the way. After going through the basics, my masterclass will teach you up to 5 uniquely profitable methods invented by me that will make you elite. So how much do you need to get started? Well, it's up to you. The more you have to start with, the more it's going to become once you multiply. If you look at the amount that you want to invest and you say to yourself, this is a huge amount of money, this is a good amount, and if I was to multiply it, it would meaningfully change my life, then cryptocurrency investing is for you. So if you're ready for the 100, 1,000, 10,000% gains, then get ready to go through the hundreds of lessons that we have in the campus to make you elite, and I'll be here to guide you every step of the way. GM everybody, welcome to another episode of Investing Analysis. This is the special altcoin hunt special edition investing analysis where, yes, I have lowered my standards for all of you because I know you're all degenerate gamblers, and maybe this will be like the fucking Blue Room where people shoot up crack. As long as it's done in the safety of an environment that I have for you, then maybe I can save some lives instead of having you out in the fucking street somewhere gambling shit coins, because I know what you're all like. You're just like me. Deep down inside of your heart, there is a desire to gamble. I know you. Everybody watching this thing right now, I can see into your heart. So, if this is your first investing analysis ever, welcome to the Cryptocurrency Investing Campus. Of course, I'm your professor, Professor Adam. Now, nothing in this live stream and nothing really in any of these live streams is going to really be the foundational stuff that will truly make you money for sure. All of the stuff that you see in these live streams and these investing analyses is like the seasoning on top of your dish, right? This is the good shit that you get that really fulfills the rest of the education and fills in the little gaps here and there. So you can see my daily approach to how I look at my data collection and my research. If you haven't done all of the lessons, a lot of things that I talk about and a lot of approaches that I take are not going to make sense. I understand this is very confusing for a lot of you, and you may come into here and you may look at some of the investing analyses in the first few lessons and you're like, oh, it's so confusing. Like, there's so much to learn, man. Maybe if I just watch a few videos and just fuck off for a little while, come back in a couple of months after I've fucking drawn some trend lines on a chart, maybe I'll understand it a little bit more. But that's not an effective approach. I understand it's tricky. I understand it's hard, but that's what makes it great. If you don't push through the overwhelming amounts of information that I throw at you so that you have a comprehensive, very deep understanding of this activity, then how do you expect to actually make money in the long run? I know that's not appealing to a lot of you, the idea of making money for sure. Because every experience that I've had during the course of my career has basically shown me the opposite. That people, they think at a very surface level that they're ready for the concept of making money for sure. But you're fucking not. Because otherwise your behaviors would manifest themselves in a different manner, which would be you would all be showing up every day. You would all have your masterclass graduation role. You would be a masterclass graduate. You would have your systems development. But nobody does this, and the roles show me this. So if you are here and you have been showing up every day, thank you very much. I do appreciate you. Of course I do. If you're brand new here, make sure you commit to the process. This isn't for the fucking children out there. This is big boy time, all right? This is professional investing. But I digress. Today, what we're going to be doing is blasting through our investing analysis very quickly. You're not going to see me talk too much about the metrics that we normally look at. I will go through everything and I will point out things that I think are interesting. If we don't see something interesting, I'll move straight through to the altcoin section and I will give you a disclaimer then. Until then, let's get into the analysis. So let's do a speed run on this. TPI, which is not loading, hasn't changed at all. Basically the same since yesterday. Good times. So we have some liquidation maps as well here from Highblock. Shout out to I can't pronounce his name. It's like Boyanvoy, I think, who has shown me this. So it looks like Bitcoin is actually layered to the upside with some liquidations. Where's my fucking pen? And Ethereum is actually layered to the downside. So that is quite disturbing. That's worthwhile watching. We'll see if the other liquidation maps can corroborate this. May move straight over to the decent trader liquidation maps and have a look at Bitcoin, see if there is any significant. I wouldn't call this remotely close to the current price in the same way the high block showed theirs. So there is a bit of a disconnect between high block and the decent trader liquidation maps. And the CoinAnk ones and the CoinGlass ones should have slightly, nope. Okay, so in a cruel twist of irony, it seems like the downside here is stacked up on the CoinGlass ones. Bitcoin is reasonably symmetrical with a little bit of downside there. And what about Ethereum? Let's have a look at them. And of course, we'll do the 30-day on Ethereum as well, just to see what that looks like. And it's basically the same as Bitcoin. So there is some downside there. Closer proximity. So let's say we have some downside, continued downside on cryptocurrency for the short term, but I'm kind of skipping around here. Valuation wouldn't have changed since yesterday, and the check on chain metrics, which I have added to my list yesterday, full cycle valuation is still a very long way away from anywhere where we need to be concerned. I don't know what the criteria here is for top picking, but it still seems to be a long way away from that. That one hasn't triggered yet. Short-term MVRV still a little way off resetting, to be fair. This looks like it's calculated in a slightly different manner, this one here, because you can see on the CryptoQuant short-term holder MVRV, it's a lot closer to that midline here than it is on the CryptoQuant one. So perhaps there is some more downside to be had until we reach a point where we can consider that to be reset. Worthwhile keeping an eye on. Few little profit-taking points there by the looks of it. And the momentum, the long-term momentum is still positive, but weakening. Which of course makes sense in the context of, for example, the inter-exchange flow pulse, which is negative. Still getting a volatility warning. How's that going? Yeah, that moving average is still screaming down at a nice pace. I expect that to continue on for another week or two. If we were to get that sustained and above that moving average, that would maybe an indication that momentum is starting to reverse. And I would expect that because we do have an external driver acting upon the market, which I cover every day, which is Chinese stimulus occurring around Lunar New Year. So we do have an external driver that can cause the market to not move in a technical manner. So you should always be looking at fundamentals. And that would be my bias there. And I say the same thing every day. My bias is that with the headline market, Bitcoin, total, whatever, we're going to be running alongside these fundamental drivers. And if we can find some technical or on-chain evidence to back this up, so be it. So yes, and I know I continually refer back to this one, but that period of time that we're talking about with Chinese stimulus coming, you may see that go down to that realized price line, and that will mark mid-February, at which point you get that printing, which sends us back up again. Because like I've said to you previously, every time we've come back to this neutral line, this zero line here, during a bull market, during a bear market, there usually is a strong reaction. And I do believe that we are in this phase of the market cycle. We are in a bull market. Don't ask me if the fucking bull market starts on the halving, because it doesn't. It starts when liquidity begins to rise. And the page is frozen. Nothing useful there. Inter-exchange flow pulse, how's it coming along? It's consolidating a little bit, still a long way off. Might be a lagging measurement when it recovers. Yeah, cool. New money coming up at 1, but it's still not a significant measurement. And that's all for that. Okay, Capriol breadth is down a little tiny bit. That's the only metric that I'm really concerned about looking at on a daily basis. Nothing there. Full cycle, nothing really interesting to look at there. Nothing there. Way slightly upwards on the Centix sentiment indicator. So there's already a little bit of a recovery taking place. Bitcoin, holy shit. Oh my God. Bitcoin up on a lower price. That makes me a little bit concerned. But again, when was the last time we had such a massive positive rate of change like this? You could say maybe it would be there and there, perhaps. So what was that? That was 30th of June, 2022. Actually, the daily might be better still. 30th of June, 2022. So it was just before the bottom. That's encouraging. It's like right there. Cool. All right. Doesn't really tell us much, so I'm going to move on very quickly. We covered the liquidation map already. Yeah, Heater is still acting as I imagined. Shout out for those people that remembered this analysis here. Looks like that is going to react to the upside perhaps, and I'm not even going to bother looking at those. Okay, so now let us begin the degeneracy. I hope you're fucking ready. Now, disclaimer. Everything that I do here is going to be done through the lens and the context of RSPS style methodology. We are opportunity cost maximalists in this campus. So I don't give a fuck whether or not something is going to go up or not, or whether we classify it as going to go up or not. We're going to ratio analysis everything because we want to know whether something is going up relative to something else. Now, it'll change around depending on the type of tokens that we look at, but hopefully you'll learn a little bit about how I view these tokens from at least a relative strength standpoint. I'm going to use some simple analysis methods. This isn't a fucking promotion of a particular method that I use. It's representative of how you would approach them using your preferred analysis method, maybe a mini TPI or an indicator that you prefer. I'm just going to stick to the fucking RSI, right? And maybe I'll use the FSVZO. But these are very fucking simple systems that you can use. It's nothing to be. It doesn't need to be complicated. However, I do prefer to make it more complicated in my personal shit. So let's go from the beginning. Let's see what we've got here. Pandoshi. The fuck is Pandoshi? All right, let's have a look. See if it's on. We'll see if it's on Dex Tools. Pandoshi. Okay, so it's It's on Solana with a Dex score of 1. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, so first things first, this thing's got absolutely no price history, and probably the reason why it was trending is because it had this massive pump here, which looks like it's got sent, what is that, 60,000 fucking percent in a single day? 68,000% in a single day. Now, this also reveals a problem that a lot of you have, which is that when you want to come and say ask somebody like me about my opinions on a token, you will generally always come to me with something that has already outperformed, something that has already seen its gains. Now, I hope you realize that when something goes up a lot, there is more sell pressure. That's where the danger is. So after something has gone up a lot, there's no point in looking at it then and being like, oh, maybe it'll do that again. Now that I'm seeing it, the probability is that after you've seen it, it's done at that point. So it's fine to look at stuff like this and be like, oh, look how cool it is, you know, and look at what it's done. But at this point here, where you've seen it go up 70, fucking 60,000, 70,000%, and then come back down again, you know what the chance of it going back up again is? Probably zero, because everybody, all of the insiders here, have already sold their bags, and now it's just weak hands that have maybe accumulated a little bit here, and they will just continually rotate out, and it will decline into oblivion, just like every single other token in the world, because the only ADA Cardano for the long run. Well, no, okay. Sure, why not? But first of all, let's compare it to something that we are all familiar with, Bitcoin. How does Cardano relate to Bitcoin? Actually, probably a better comparison would be ETH, because we all know that Ethereum is Cardano's main competitor, or it's a smart contract chain. So, okay, over the last, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Over the last 6 years, ADA has accrued value relative to ETH of basically none of its history. This area here represents the history. Actually, it's not even. Yeah, well, how do I put this? If this ratio goes up, that means that ADA is doing better than Ethereum. But if the ratio goes down, it means that Ethereum is doing better than ADA. So you can see, because the ratio is down, Ethereum has effectively outperformed Cardano for the majority of its history of existence at the current point of the current pricing. So the question is, if over the last 6 years, 7 years, 2, 3, 4, 5, over the last 6 years, ADA was not able to accrue value against Ethereum, and Ethereum has more dev activity, has more security, has more apps built upon it, more visibility, then why the fuck would you want to hold Cardano? You can clearly see that's a piece of shit. Now, of course, you don't have to take my word for it. We can do this in a quantitative way. Now, you could go and you could use something like the RSI method, like I've mentioned previously in the shitcoin lessons. And this is an example of what you would have with your RSPS if you were doing relative trend analysis. Because obviously, there are periods here where ADA outperforms. Maybe you want to try and take advantage of these periods, like whatever these periods are. Maybe you like that. Maybe you like the idea of being invested in those periods. Now, there's two ways of looking at it. You could either do something very conservative, which is invest in ADA relative to ETH. Remember, relative to ETH. This is not in the nominal sense. When the yellow moving average goes above the 50 line, or if you wanted to get an even faster entry, you could go into ADA potentially when its headline measurement goes above the moving average. That way you get a momentum effect, a very fast acting momentum effect. However, you may also get false signals on your way up. That's possible. Happens all the time, where the RSI could dip below the moving average and then come straight back up again. That's possible as well. Actually, you can see here on the weekly, it's been quite clean in all historical examples where the headline RSI measurement is being above the moving average and you haven't had any false signals. So if I'm being objective here, I could say to you that using this method, you could potentially gain some outperformance. But here's the question, okay? And let me just front run everybody before you ask me anything else. What is the highest beta asset that we've looked at that is within the smart contract universe? Now, if I ask you this question, the fucking bell should be going off in your mind immediately, because the answer is Solana. I'll save you the suspense. So a more appropriate question would be, what is ADA's relationship to Solana? Is there a relationship there that we can compare? So let's have a look at that. Because it's kind of pointless looking versus Ethereum, because if you know that Solana is probably going to outcompete ADA, then you would never even look at ADA. So what the fuck is the point of looking at ADA? Which also kind of is the reason why a lot of this altcoin hunting bullfuckery pisses me off. Crypto.com. Is because almost every asset is worthless. No. Sol, we'll do the Sol USD ratio. And then compare that to Solana. Now, what does the fucking Sol ADA ratio look like to you? What does it look like? It looks like Sol. In the same way that the Sol ETH ratio looks like Sol. Everything looks like Sol. Because it's so high beta. So why would you want to waste your time trying to collect a tiny little bit of outperformance on ADA, which is fundamentally a piece of fucking shit, and it's low beta garbage, mid-cap garbage shit anyway. Waste of time. Utter waste of time. So, fuck ADA off. You would look at Solana. So, basically, we're going to now take a fucking U-turn and look at the Solana ETH ratio. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about all of you people in the chat channels. I'm going to return to you in a minute. But yes, if you were looking at the Sol ETH ratio and you were thinking to yourself, okay, well, I want to know when to invest in Sol, you're already going to be maximally invested in Ethereum anyway. And this is only if you're the type of person that wants to change around your SDCA holdings, which is not what I would recommend. But I know a lot of you can't sit still, and maybe you aren't concerned about the same capital gains tax discounts that I am, which is fine. Same application, right? You pull up the Sol ETH ratio, and you can see that you have two options available to you: the conservative, which is the moving average above and below your center line, which would give you a full cycle kind of thing like so. Or, and over here, wherever that is, over there, and that's all of that juicy goodness that you get there. Or you could do an alternative approach, which is the headline RSI measurement above the moving average. So you get in over here and exit over here, in, out. I don't know about in a bear market. You probably wouldn't be investing during then. In, out, in, out, in, out, like so. Now let's do a little bit of a study here and figure out what that would look like. So in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, and then you would be out over here. So you can see already that's quite good. Fuck, that's not going to work, is it? So you get in there, get out there. Let's change that to green because it is profitable. So that's not too bad. No losing investments using that method. Not a single losing investment. Which is pretty good when you think about it. Of course, the time frame is quite high, but you do get access to some mad gains through this period with some reasonable risk management, to be quite fair with you. So it's not all bad. this is a perfectly acceptable approach. So you would filter a lot of your mid cap garbage ideas through this same lens, which is like, okay, well let's pull up any mid cap. It could be Aave, it could be any other shit, and you would have the exact same behavior. So let's continue on. So that is my explanation of Sol there to you. GM SUI. What is SUI and what does it look like? Okay, is there anything with longer price history than Binance? Not really, but you can see that it's the RSI for the weekly is in a positive trend. You need to be very discerning with your time horizons. See how I've basically gone up to the weekly, and I just stayed there like naturally, is because you've got to be on a time horizon where the whips are not going to be violent enough to kick you out of these trades. You have to understand what the behavior of your asset is like. It's no use going onto the 1 day and just really being blindly like gritty on that particular one. And you're like, I must make the 1 day chart work. Like sometimes you have to be a little more reserved and get good signals rather than trying to aim for maximum frequency. Because remember, you can never forget that there's an inverse relationship over time, right? The shorter the time horizon you go, the more noise there is. And it's like, as you extend your time horizon out, the profitability increases because the noise decreases. And it's an inverse relationship. It's one of the reasons why I prefer to move out of the fucking cesspool of filth and shit and noise and volatility that is shorter term trading, and then kind of expand that out to a longer time horizon. It's the reason why I never advocate for a short-term TPI. And it's the reason why even when I do go medium-term with the medium-term TPI, it's an aggregate trend measurement. It's not a single indicator. It is many together, because that kind of helps the noise kind of filter itself out a little bit more. So that's the context of this. So SUI, if you were invested in this one and you wanted to figure out where a good exit was, I mean, it's quite volatile because it's obviously still quite new. One way of approaching this might be with Heikin-Ashi processing. You can go down to the 4 day on Heikin-Ashi, whereas you can't with the 5 day, or else you would get 2 false signals there. And I think that's acceptable. But with Heikin-Ashi processing, you can get a little more smoothness out of it. So the massive whips associated with this one will be smoothed out a little bit. So you could do 4 days if you're expecting this thing to move up strongly in the future. I mean, it's only up 200% from the bottom, so that's not huge. If you wanted to shorten up that time horizon to a 3 day, no, that's not going to work. Okay, cool. Do I think it's going to go up or down or not? That's not what I'm here to do. What we would want to do is compare it against another base asset like Ethereum. Remember, opportunity cost maxi. Okay, so it's bullish against Ethereum. Good. And it still looks bullish to me. But beware that you may be exposing yourself to some choppiness before another leg up. Because generally when you are this high, things tend to get a little bit choppier. Casper! Casper. Whoa. Okay. It's an interesting one. It's been in a... Okay, so it depends on what type of moves you want to capture. I suppose you look at this thing and you think over the long term it's gone really well, okay? But I know what a lot of you degenerates are thinking. You look at this and you visually say to yourself, oh, look how it's gone up over time. It looks amazing. Again, referring back to the comment that I made earlier about all of you only looking at things that have gone up recently or have gone up a lot already, I know a lot of you will look at this and go, oh, it's gone up a lot over the long run, but your behavior will be that of a person trying to capture these little pumps here, right? That's really what you want. You don't want the overall performance. You want the shorter term moves. So I could say that if you wanted to classify this entire thing, you could use the, you could use the 5-day. You could use the 5-day RSI, yellow moving average above the midline, as a full cycle trend indication. But if you wanted to take advantage of the shorter term moves, you could use something like the RSI over the moving average trick. That could work for you. And I'm sure if you did a study on that, it would work nicely as well. Maybe the Kunji-sen base would work all right. It's a bit noisy. Oh, of course. Almost forgot. Always ratio analysis. Fuck, that looks like a Bitcoin chart. Same type of thing. And yeah, it's pretty much been in a positive trend relative to Ethereum for quite a while. Okay. Yeah. Base ecosystem tokens. Toshi? Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of people, I imagine, jumping on the base ecosystem. So Toshi could be a good one. Again, you may want to, if you're going to be trading shitcoins like this, you may want to have some sort of a system for it, just like an RSI, kind of like so. You can see that it's very noisy over the last few days because we're on the daily chart. So this thing has a little more time history now, so we can extend that out to say 3-day. And you can see, for example, this thing was doing well, and then it crossed below its moving average, had a couple of false positives, and then continued to decline up until this point here. So if this was to break out above this moving average, potentially that could be an indication of another rally that would take this thing up like so, maybe before declining back down again and doing another rally. However it is. What about the midline above and below 50? So that's been fairly good. It's had one negative signal there, and then it's remained in a positive trend throughout there. On this particular one, I probably would prefer to use the moving average above and below the midline for this one. I feel like the 3-day chart resolution really isn't high enough resolution for this one. So I think that this method is acceptable with the moving average. Now, I'm not even going to bother trying to, well, okay, fuck it. We'll chart it against Ethereum. Okay, it's basically the same chart. This shows me that Toshi, like when you go between the USD chart and the ETH chart, if they're basically a clone of each other, that is an indication that the token you're looking at is very high beta, which means that its relationship to another token is basically not going to matter. Unless it's another shitcoin and you have a situation like this where it's consolidating. Maybe you want to compare this token to Mochi. I don't know how to do that on DEX tools, but if it was on TradingView, you could. I don't think that's the one. No. Because I know that you've got Toshi and Mochi on base. If there was a way of comparing Toshi and Mochi together, that would be really cool, because then you could form a kind of a meme spread, and then you could perform this analysis on the meme spread and figure out which token to hold to get the biggest upside at whatever time it is. So that would be very cool. But we can't do that. So yeah. And as you can see here as well, this thing is in a positive trend, and currently the RSI, headline RSI, is above the moving average, so that potentially could be good news. But of course, like I mentioned, there's a lot of volatility here. Best not to look into it too much. Use the moving average over the midline as your preferred measure, and that's a good safe way of approaching that particular token. Thoughts on ETH? It's a hard one, bro. Thoughts on ETH? In a downtrend. ETH in a downtrend. Yeah, we're going to zero, baby. No, just kidding. GM Professor Adam. Currently in a boot camp phase with Professor Michael and seeking to diversify my knowledge with your classes. I don't fucking, bro, you're fucking up. You shouldn't be here, mate. You shouldn't be here if you want to. There is no such thing as diversifying your knowledge. You either listen to him or you fucking listen to me. Honestly, I hate people that go between the two different campuses. Maybe I'm just biased. It's not that. I suppose you can kind of learn from both of us, but our approaches are different, and you should not try. Don't be under the fucking delusion that you can mix and match what you prefer from both professors, because it doesn't work like that. All right, there is no entity out there that made their millions of dollars more millions of dollars by combining both of our shit together. Right? Professor Michael and I are both millionaires, and we're separate entities. So you are not going to be able to somehow Frankenstein yourself into a better version of both of us when we have been working together our whole careers. And I have already taken the things that I believe are most effective from him and incorporated it into my campus. And he's probably taken the things that are most effective for him and incorporated that into his campus. And you think you can outsmart us both at the same time? Like, honestly, think about what you're doing. The two. No, I don't think. Whatever. Saitama. Yeah, I'm sure this dude, or is it? See, when you see shit like this is because this asshole has had an inside allocation to this bullshit. Now he's shilling to his viewers so that he can dump on their asses. Is XRP a good altcoin to invest in? Thoughts? I'm not going to take the bait. I'm going to retain my calmness. XRP ETH. Binance. Right. As you can clearly see, XRP has failed to accrue any value relative to Ethereum over its literally its entire history. Look at this. Look at how many we've had this many times in all of XRP's history where it has accrued value versus ETH. So that is like probably less than 1% of its entire existence. You should never buy XRP for any reason. These glory days are not coming back. Don't try and catch these pumps either. You fucking degenerate scum. See, now I've already lost my temper. Let's blow up the ETH3 bull on Tauros. Never forget that the ETH up token on TradingView is a good proxy for what your ETH bull token is going to look like on Tauros. Okay, so if you ever want to know what its behavior is going to look like, pull up this ticker and give it a look. Okay, because you might actually be surprised to go over the numbers yourself and see what it looks like. Get familiarity with it, because the decay is built into the price. You greedy cunt. I'll do XAI. That's all I'm going to do. One at a time, you fucking greedy asshole. XAI. Beautiful. Okay, so it's got no price history. Interesting. Maybe. XAI, it's a stable coin? Side shift token. I'm assuming it's that one. 2 months ago? That looks hard to know what you're talking about. XAI. Okay. Where is the contract? And it is on, oops, Arbitrum? Interesting. Yes, okay. Cool. Okay, so it's just the same thing. Okay, so this token has no price history, so that is already a little bit concerning, but it is a very high market cap. Very high market cap for something with no price history. So if we're going to perform analysis on this, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be super, super difficult. I'm going to assume that this thing is also going to be high volatility. Not really. Okay, so it would probably be appropriate to measure this thing against a base asset. It's low volatility. And then just perform some rudimentary analysis on it. 12-hour might be a bit too short. Yeah. I'd be very, very concerned and very suspicious investing in or trading this asset at all. With a market cap that's already quite high and no price history to go off, it's going to be very difficult. I don't like to go down into like the 12-hour because it's, especially for something so high market cap. If it was a shit coin, then maybe something like a 12-hour or even like a 6 or a 1 hour chart might be okay for like tactical trading. But if you're looking to invest in something like this, it's going to be very, very difficult. 1 day is probably the fastest I would be comfortable going. You can see here that the moving average line for the RSI is above the midline, but the actual headline RSI is above the moving average. So currently it's in a temporary downtrend. If that thing was to break back up above that moving average, then sure, I would say that it would be fairly safe to buy that. And if you're using the RSI above the moving average as your entry condition, you might have something like this, and you could have something like that. At the current price and at the current condition that it looks like, no, I wouldn't be investing in this. No way. GM everyone. Prof, is this the signal by Takecoin? Yeah. Matic. Okay, Matic it is. Now, where is my Matic ETH? Yes, okay. See, I don't mind Matic. I think Matic is an interesting one. You can see that in its history, we've had a massive pump for Matic before. Like, we're talking an 80x, which is pretty good. Obviously, it's pretty good. I mean, duh. An 80x, and I mean, fuck. What a pump. It's a pretty massive fucking pump. When that moving average went below the midline, it was over there somewhere. So you could have still got your 60x if you would use the RSI moving average above and below the midline trick, because it went up here and only went below the midline over there. So that could have been a good one, but that's a very high time frame, and I know you're all very impatient, so that might not work for you. But if you know that we're about to be going into a bull run of sorts, then there could be hope there. But of course, we need to measure it versus another base asset because we are opportunity cost maxis. So if we look at Matic versus Ethereum, you can see that again, that period during the bull market, very, very high performance, extremely high performance. However, the volatility was very extreme as well. You can see here that even using the RSI above below the moving average method, it still had a false negative in there, which is a little bit concerning. But if you were looking for something a little more conservative, conservative is not the right word. Anyway, in its current moment, you can see that either one of the preferred analysis methods that I like to use using the RSI is below its moving average and the moving average is below its midline. So we have a double disconfirmation here of any sort of an uptrend. If you wanted to be more tactical with it, yeah, you could probably wait until the RSI breaks back above that moving average and you could ride that one up potentially. But it would be highly volatile, especially versus your Ethereum holdings. You can see how many negatives, how many false negatives you get through some of these periods, including there. But if you wanted to capture something like this again, because the bull market is back, so the probability of something like this occurring now is more likely than it was, say, in any other point through here, because we literally weren't in a bull market. This is the only time that we're currently in where you could possibly get a pump like so. But even then, a pump like this may not happen until you really enter the final phases of the bull market, which is like 2025, like early 2025. We're talking like tail end of 2024, which is when the liquidity cycle really starts to ramp up and things start to go fucking crazy. So you could keep an eye on this. And if there was any significant upwards signals versus Ethereum, you could potentially convert that into Matic. But here again, like we must always go back to the same question. If we've identified an ultra high beta asset like Solana, then how does that reflect against its relationship with Matic? So let's do the analysis. Sol USD, Matic USD. And hopefully this is going to give me crypto, Polygon. Okay, now we're talking. Because you can see here, whoops, what does this look like? The Sol-Matic ratio doesn't just look like a clone of Solana. Now that is cool because now you have evidence that that you could potentially get some extra alpha out of Matic. Of course, the ratio here is quite crazy. This thing here, this bit here scares the fuck out of me because that is generally not what you want to see when you're doing trend analysis. Like that's wild. It's wild, super, super wild. You could potentially look at this and say, okay, well, which asset am I going to have my money in? During a bull market, this is. Say if your LTPI and your MTPI is long, because your MTPI should be based on total, whatever your total TPI is. If there's money flowing into the market, if liquidity is up, if you're in a bull market, then you could look at the Sol-Matic ratio and be like, okay, well, which is the optimal asset to hold? Because neither of these, because the Matic ETH ratio basically looks like Matic, and the Sol ETH ratio basically looks like Sol. So both of these are going to be very high beta exposures that you could rotate between during a bull market, assuming that they're going to be outperforming Ethereum during such a period. Which isn't going to be always guaranteed, but there is a high possibility. Actually, maybe what you could do is you could pull up Bitcoin and see whether or not there is any evidence of one outperforming the other during the bull market. Not really. During this whole period here, it was quite choppy. You had Matic, Sol, Matic, Sol, Matic, Sol, right towards the end, and then Matic like that. So actively managing that would be a fucking massive headache. And then through the current bull market that we're in, it's been sold the entire way up. So does this mean we're about to enter a matic phase? I don't know. You would want to classify it using some sort of a trend following method. Maybe you could use, because this time series here, we don't have volume data. Okay. Okay, well, let's go Binance. Beautiful. Okay, so what we have here is a kind of an oscillating time series, but weekly is still too short. What about monthly? Okay, now we're talking. Maybe 3 weeks, maybe monthly is too long. Okay, so we could potentially be working with something here. Right, so you could potentially go 3 week and 1 month, like a combination between the two of them, a TPI of some sort. And you could invest in Sol or Matic depending on how the FSVZOs are telling you which direction it's going to go, assuming this relationship stays stationary. Now, be warned, in my personal experience over the course of years of doing this, and this goes all the way back into stock trading as well, often when you find a stationary relationship, the stationarity fucking ends. Like, but precisely at the point at which you want it to continue. Stationary relationships are very, very rare in finance, like, especially between two assets that are non-stationary. Very, very rare for that ratio to remain that way. So if you find something like this and you're saying to yourself, oh, well, maybe this just oscillates like this forever and gives me some really easy rotational opportunities, that's probably not what's actually going to happen. So don't be under any delusion. Maybe a good example of this would be the liquidity ETH ratio. No, the liquidity SOL ratio. Now that almost looks stationary, that time series there, for a very long time. You could probably still be under a delusion there and thinking that would stay that way forever, but it's unlikely. I think that it's unlikely that that thing oscillates nicely in a sine wave for the rest of forever. So always be warned. Found Waldo. Neon. Neon. Holy shit. What the fuck is going on here? That looks retarded. I don't know what's going on there. Let's have a look at Dex's screener instead. Neon EVM on Solana. Okay. What are we talking about in terms of price? Okay, nice beta. Okay, good. All right, cool. So, how would I approach this? We're on the daily using the RSI. It's okay. It's okay. Wow, is my computer fucking frozen? Right, so I would probably be inclined to use the RSI moving average technique. So that is the above and below zero, above and below, the above and below 50% method. That would place an exit over here somewhere. Fuck you. I was gonna say it's there somewhere. So that's a pretty fast exit, if you ask me. Decent entry. So you'd be in, out, in, all the way up through there. An easy 400% false positive over here. Before declining again. So that's on the 12 hour. That's how I would manage this one, because obviously it's operating over a very short time horizon. It's high beta, no price history. I think 12 hours would be fine for this one because it's got no price history. Yeah, I wouldn't be using any type of high time frame RSI above moving average method. Absolutely not. On this one, I would be using the moving average above and below midline. And that appears to be quite effective for this particular one. So that would be my suggestion for this one. Speaking of meme coins, Ethereum, yeah, Flux, Dex tools. We'll look at whales in a minute. Doesn't, why would we want to look at Flux? What a bag of balls. What a fucking low beta bag of trash is Flux. Unless I'm looking at the wrong token. A couple of different Fluxes. Flux token. Whoops. The fuck is the meaning of this? Whoa. Okay. Different. Must be a different token. Is it though? No. No, that can't be it. Yeah, I'm just gonna avoid that one because it wasn't very clear. Okay, whales. Yeah, I mean it's a shitcoin, bro. That's only just launched. Again, you're playing with fire here. So remember, anytime that you pull up a token like this, critical measurement, take your fucking measuring tool and go from where the insiders have bought and then run it up. Now, remember, there's some cunt that is bought that floated you this token down here. Never forget this. Somebody made this token and floated it to you at this price. Now they are up 250x from their entry. Now, you must ask yourself, are you going to play ball against somebody that's up 250x on their position and now you're entering? You are now somebody's exit liquidity if you buy at this price. Because this same pattern repeats itself over and over and over again. Every single one of the tokens that you fuckers have suggested to me so far to share one of two characteristic traits. It's a meme from the previous cycle, which is utter garbage piece of shit with a narrative that's very easy for your pleb mind to absorb, like XRP or ADA, some other bullshit like this, or it's a hyper low cap meme coin on a fucking chain like Solana that has already done 1,000,000x, and you're like, what do you think of it now? It's the same thought for all of them. If it's in the first category, it's a pleb token that is not going to have alpha. Or if it is high beta, then you're going to have to perform an opportunity cost ratio analysis on it versus something else that you know is going to go up, like Ethereum. Or if it's appropriate, maybe versus Solana. Or if it's in case number 2, you fucks are just like attracted like flies to shit to tokens that somebody already has pumped for their own gain. And now you're looking at like think, oh, well, it's done 300x. Now can I get some of that as well after it's done 300x? Look for shit that hasn't done 300x yet. Like, be different. Be like a non-gambler, somebody that has a chance of succeeding. Look at something that hasn't gone up 300x. It's the reason why I can't take whales seriously, but I can take something like, what was the other token? Was it XAI? Now I could take, or Neon. Like, I took XAI and Neon somewhat seriously because at least they hadn't done anything yet. If you give me whales and it's up 250x, I'm telling you, this guy right here is currently laughing all his way all the way to the bank. And he probably has $100 million of fucking unrealized profit at this point. So when he rugs your ass, what are you going to do? Do you really think that I can give you a method that you can watch that will be fast enough to get you out of a rug? You will lose every time. So be very, very careful. GM Bear, what are your thoughts on Link? What do you want? What thoughts are you expecting from me? It's a token. Let's perform. Wonderful. All right. So what has previously worked in other bull markets? Link outperformed Ethereum in 2019 and 2020 before declining into oblivion again. I think yeah, that looks about right. Cool. So if we use the classic above and below method, just a very rudimentary, extremely rudimentary, something that almost means nothing, and you apply it to this one here as well. How many false signals did we ever get during this price series? 1, 2, and then you got a good positive. So this particular method may be most correct, where you have, and I hope what I'm doing here is clear to everybody that's done the masterclass and the game and like have done their TPIs. What I'm doing here is an ultra fast, like very, very compressed version of what a TPI looks like. I am identifying, first of all, in my brain, I am identifying the intended signal period. What is the behavior that I'm trying to capture, right? Based upon historical price behavior and the relationship between these tokens. What behavior am I trying to capture? Number 1. Then I manipulate the time horizons and the indicators to get what I want from this indicator to correctly classify this type of behavior. Did you notice that when I started on the 1 week chart? I started on the 1 week, and looking at this, I was looking at where it exited, and I was thinking, is that appropriate for my intended signal time period? And I could see, using the RSI, that there was still a lot of empty space here, where there was no false negative signals from the moving average crossing below the midline. So I was like, okay, I can squeeze a little bit more out of that, so let's tighten it up. So I went to the 6-day, and then I went to the 5-day. And then when I went to the 5-day, I noticed that there was almost a false negative there. And I was like, cool, that's enough. That's tight enough that we can get a signal out of that. And then I compare it to the rest of the time series. Is the behavior of it acceptable everywhere else? What is its error rate? I find that acceptable. Minimal losses and for whatever it is, right? And then a beautiful entry over here, which has retained an individual long throughout here, relativity. So if you wanted to run this ratio, that is the method that you would use. But again, every single time you have to ask yourself, if you're going to be using link, which falls into the first category of the mistakes that you cunts make, then why wouldn't you compare it against an ultra high, a beta asset that may be more appropriate? So here we go again. Sol USD, Link USD. It's the same shit every time. And this isn't because I have some boner for Solana. It's just because it is easily accessible within my brain as a high beta asset that I know outcompetes most other cryptos. So let's compare it to Sol. Same thing every single time. What does the Sol Link ratio look like? It looks like Sol. So why the fuck would you want to use Link? You wouldn't. You would use ETH and Sol. Or even Sol and Cash. Whatever the fuck you want to do. But Link, ADA, XRP, choose any old cycle mid cap. Choose anything. From the fucking top 100. Choose any of them. Go down the list. Choose AVAX. Choose Doge. Choose Tron. Polygon was an exception. You will find that most of them will have this exact same relationship, and the train of logic will always lead you back to one or two tokens. So, yeah. What about Bitcoin? Not looking so good, if I'm being completely honest with you, my G. Bitcoin is looking a little bit rough. And the price action is actually looking a little bit warped. This one is relative to wrapped Ethereum, which is good. Okay, so you see the logic that I'm going through. We look at the integrity of the price series. I'm seeing gap, gap, gap. I'm not seeing the opens and closes matching up to each other. Gap, gap. I'm seeing more gaps. So I'm seeing a lot of pricing integrity issues here. So this is the type of time series that I would probably run I can actually filter through, just to give it a little bit of a helping hand. And then, of course, what we can do is we can look at what method might be appropriate. Now, this seems to be kind of a volatile price series. It's moving around a lot. Now, it would be nice to look at this and say, okay, well, it would be, where's the next leg up on Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 and you, so you can get your next 10x. But that's a risky game to play. You want to be capturing, I think, shorter term moves and not too concerned about longer term stuff. It's hard to tell. I don't really touch this one. There's a lot of noise here. I really don't like this token, man. Oh, shit. Okay, so let's say hypothetically, if you had no choice. Let's say you had no choice and you had a gun to my head and you say, okay, Adam, you have to trade this token profitably or you die. What would I do? This is what I would do. And this is very speculative. I would say when you have the RSI, the headline RSI line going above 50 and the moving average is about to go above 50 as well. So this would not classify as that. But if you had something like this, where the moving average line was very close to the midline, and like this, that probably would count as one, even though it was a false signal. And this one here, As the RSI line goes above the midline, you would buy, assuming that the proximity of the moving average is very close to the midline. And you would hold as long as that was going up, as long as the moving average was above the, as long as the headline RSI was above the moving average. Then as it crosses down below the moving average and crosses below the midline, there and there, and the moving average is declining towards the midline, then I would exit. Because that would give you the fastest possible entry and exit, but the amount of conditions that you have to keep track of would be absolutely atrocious. And what would that be there? So that'd be a decent exit. Yeah, so not the best. Personally, I would not recommend touching that one. Already did Matic. OLAS. Oh, that's a bad time series, that one. Is this the one? Again, you all act the same. You all have exactly the same behavior. You're all clones of each other. How high is this one up? Fucking 40 million%. And what's its appeal? Like, what does it do? Yeah, so it's just bullshit. Okay, yeah, so it's just a scam. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, so fuck this. Yeah, I would not touch this in a billion years. You can fuck right off. Same application. I would probably use the moving average. This one's good because it's got a lot of price history over the 1 day. So I would use the moving average above and below midline for that one because that looks quite good. That allows you to get in down here and get out over there. It's for, that's whatever it is, a decent 300%. But yeah, you're probably looking at this and thinking to yourself, oh yeah, maybe if it just keeps doing this, maybe if it goes from here and literally doubles again, like that's what you genuinely think will happen. I'm telling you right now, the probability of this thing is just for it to go like this. You know what that reminds you of? That should all be very familiar to you because it's the same pattern of behavior that my old mate fucking Richard Hart token has. This is the destiny for most of your shit coins, right? Burn this into your brains. Down followed by an up, and every time you have a recovery, you and everybody in your shitty hodler fucking community goes, oh, maybe there's a chance it'll go back up. Look, there's a chance. Fuckers. There is no chance. Anyway, fuck them. Can you comment on Ron? Ron. Oh, this one. I know what this one would be good with Kunji's 10 base. Yeah, sir. Okay, yes. Beautiful. All right. So, fucking, what a mad token, bro. What a fucking mad run up that is. Mad. Cool. So, yeah, this one here is quite wild. This thing has a very sweeping nature, very long sweeps, very low noise. So wonderful for perpetual trend following indicators, which is the reason why I pulled up the Kunji-sen base, is because and the way that I interpret this one for anybody that is confused, down here is probably a good example. I like to see closes above the line. So closes above the line, and then you have a close below the line. That's a bearish trend, and then you have or bars in general. It doesn't even have to be a close, because sometimes I like to front run bar closes. So then you would be bullish again, and then you would go bearish again, and so on and so forth. And you can see how well that would have worked there. Enter, and then you hold up through this entire period. If you went to the 1 day, you would have been booted out a couple of times there with a bit of noise. So you would have had a lot of conviction. And yeah, that type of behavior seems quite appropriate, because that, for example, would have kept you out this entire way down, no trade, and then enter quite close to the bottom. You've got some issues down here, of course, which is only natural. Sometimes you're going to have some false signals. So that's how I would analyze that one personally. Would I invest in this up here? No. Let's see what it looks like versus ETH or BTC. Does it look the same? No. Wow. Okay. That's dramatically different to what I thought it would look like. Whoa, hold on. Something's not right here. Ronin, this crypto. Okay. Yeah, so it's basically just the Ronin price. Okay, no change there from me. ECB. Pancake swap. Decubate. Whoops. Again, another really good one for perpetual trend following indicator. Those big long sweeps are very appealing. Bizarre price behavior, honestly. Again, another person who is giving me a token at all-time highs on Binance Smart Chain, of all things, as well, up 60x. Well, I wonder where the price basis of all the whales is. Market cap to TLV ratio infinity. What does it do? Okay, so it doesn't do anything. Another scam. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I personally wouldn't touch anything on Binance Smart Chain, because Binance Smart Chain is just for scams. So how are you going to trade this scam effectively, especially when it's at all-time highs? You are probably going to get rugged. Yeah. Already did, Casper. Manta. Where is all my price history for Manta? Okay, I see. No, don't tell me it's another one of my fucking Binance Smart Chain network, you fucking degenerates. Don't you dare tell me it's on Binance Smart Chain. It's on Binance Smart Chain, isn't it? Where's the fuck? Oh, it's its own. Ah, okay. All right. Shit. This thing has no price history, bro. When was this thing launched? 94. EVM equivalent ZK application platform that is scalable and secure through Celestial DA and Polygon Zero Knowledge EVM. Okay. So it's okay, so it's actually something that's useful. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Yeah, I don't know. This thing doesn't have enough price history to do anything with. And it's already been floated at such a high market cap that it's already number 94 on the list. That's a big token, man. At $634 million of market cap and no price history, there's very little analysis that I would imagine you'd be able to do on this. Maybe you could compare it to the most recent price history of like Bitcoin and see how well it correlates. See the overall market behavior like so, and then maybe make an assumption about Bitcoin's market cycle and how. No, I think Ethereum would be the better comparison still. Ethereum would be the better comparison because it's also a smart chain network as well, right? Or more. You know, if you think that you're gonna have a market cycle like so. I don't know. I mean, it potentially could be big, but I don't know. It seems like more of a fundamental play to me. There's no form of technical analysis or indicator analysis you could do on this. It just does not have enough price history, and it's not a shitcoin, so none of the analysis methods that I have would work for this. Already done SEI, Allograland. What a garbage piece of shit looking token. Wow. Can do 10x on its way back up to cycle highs. Potentially that could be useful. What type of behavior do I want? Probably these. But then again, I would also want to compare that against something else because I'm very suspicious that it would underperform something. Oh, well, wouldn't you know? it's never outperformed versus Ethereum. Wow. Okay, so throw it in the bin. LCX. Yeah, typical. Tell me about something after it's already gone up. Yeah, it doesn't have too much price history, so understanding how it's going to behave is going to be a bit tricky. If you had some sort of a fundamental bias for this, maybe let's have a look. What does it do? Okay. Yeah, it looks just like a scam. Yeah, it seems like a scam. Cool. All right, so garbage. The market cap reflects that. So you would be speculating on this one. Mate, I would be very, very cautious. I'd be very, very cautious. With a fucking garbage scam exchange, I would say the moment that you start getting above this, which is the float price, you're basically going to have a hard cap on that forever, and it's just going to go something like that. As soon as these dudes see their initial investment, they're going to distribute their holdings. So I wouldn't even bother trying to do analysis on that one. Rose. Let's have a look. All right, so yeah, not a whole lot of price history really to work with. What do you think that what do you think is going to happen to it? I mean, you've already said it's an altcoin. No mention of what it is or its use case. Whoops. Rose. Which one is it? So it's its own blockchain, smart contract platform. Why would anybody want to use it? Ah, okay. All right. Cool. Okay. All right. Yeah, I want to. This is the same problem with XMR though. If you have a privacy focused EVM chain, is anybody going to use it though? Who's going to use it? Where's the demand come from? If Ethereum is already established, do people really care that much about the privacy? Hard to know. I mean, there could be utility, but also, why is Rose? I mean, it's quite high on the market cap, I suppose. So it must be legit. Wait a second. Okay, so it's tracking Ethereum price fairly closely, which is nice. It's interesting. Okay. So Rose could potentially do all right, but it's not going to do madly good over the course of the cycle. You, it's basically going to just do the same as Ethereum. It seems to me like the two of them there wouldn't be really much point in investing in Rose. Maybe Rose is slightly higher beta because it's smaller market cap. There's no real point in it. All right, I think that'll do for me. Kind of sick of doing the same shit. Of course, I cannot deny Bear. Sol BTC and ETH BTC if you have time. Sol BTC and ETH BTC. ETH BTC. Well, there's not much point in talking about the Sol BTC ratio because, like I've previously mentioned, the Sol BTC is going to just be Sol. There's no major differences between the two of them. So you may as well just concentrate your efforts on Sol USD. As far as ETH BTC is concerned, yeah, that's the one. You know, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder whether or not I'm biased too much towards Ethereum over the long run. If I can be my own worst enemy here and or devil's advocate. Wait. BTC. What do I want? ETH. Never before has there been such a sustained divergence from Ethereum to the ETH BTC ratio. You can see throughout its entire history. It's never sustained a divergence for this long before. This is a first time in its history. The only other divergence that was even remotely as close to as long as this was this one here, or add two of them actually, and that one there. Both of these times, the divergence resolved itself in a recorrelation between the ETH BTC ratio and ETH. Moving upwards like so. So my question that I always have to ask myself is, will there be a driver of some sort or a shift in market sentiment strong enough to revive faith in Ethereum relative to Bitcoin that we could potentially see the recorrelation of the ETH BTC ratio and ETH? Because I'm always biased to believe that when we're in an environment where we're going up, like a bull market environment, ETH is going to outperform because that's what it's done previously. Are we in a completely different paradigm now? Because we have Taproot and BRC, programmable fucking ordinals and inscriptions and shit. Hard to know. But if we're looking at it purely from some sort of a technical perspective where we classify it using an indicator, that's a different story as well. Could use the above and below method like so. It's very rudimentary though. Yeah. I don't know. This isn't the type of analysis that I would use this for anyway. I've got the TPI for it, so it's kind of pointless looking at something like this and then trying to apply some shitty analysis to it. All I'm trying to do is come to terms with whether or not I have a bias for this or not. But then again, the ETH BTC TPI is currently, I think, neutral or even slightly negative. I'll have to update that. But yeah, that'll do for me. That'll do for me for the moment. I've had enough. I hate talking about this shit because honestly, truth be told, I don't believe it has really any impact, positive impact on you or me. I think this entire stream has been a massive waste of time for myself and for you. You think that you will learn something very useful or you'll make some extra money by watching me talk about these altcoins and shit, but the truth is you won't. This is not how I made my money, and it's probably not how you'll make any money either. I know you think that's what will happen, but my experience would tell me otherwise. You are faced with the choice where you can either take the lessons and learn the systems that I believe are the best way for everybody to make money, and they're the systems that I follow, and they're the methods and the approaches that I take to the market myself, and it's how I made my money. Or you can try and apply an expectation to me and only show up when I dangle the sugar the sugar rush in front of you. It's really up to you. And, you should be very, I think if any of you didn't take this ironically, this stream, you should be very disappointed in yourself. And it's probably an indication that you won't make it. So I would encourage you highly to come back and actually pay attention to the investing daily analysis within the context of the systemization approach. I would highly encourage you to get your masterclass completed and to do the post-graduation development lessons where you have your levels number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 so that you can get through them all. Obviously, levels 4 and 5 probably aren't appropriate for this point in the market cycle, but they're there for a reason. And yeah, I'm just trying to help you guys, but it's up to you to do the work. Anyway, thank you for spending some time with me today, guys. Hopefully you have a lovely day. Do all of your lessons, and I will talk to you later. Peace.